first Christmas Carol quote is this one. So this one is, "I wear the chains I forged in life," and this is said by Jacob Marley to Scrooge when he presents himself to Scrooge in ghostly form, and he's fettered, so that means he's dragging chains behind him, and I think the most important one here, my class will know this because I always go on about it, is the verb forged. It's a really good word to talk about because forge connotes so many things. There's a sense of crafting, of purposefulness, of most importantly, intention. There's almost a skill to it. So Marley did this to himself. He purposefully forged these chains. He purposefully made them link by link, yard by yard, he says. So it's almost like he intricately created his own damnation.
And building on that with lots of zooming in on words, I like the word wear. I wear the chains because that suggests choice. Like he chose to do these evil, avaricious, rapacious, greedy actions. He chose to purposely make each link in the chain. And equally, I'd be zooming in on life because the Victorians were very devout Christians as a rule, a massive generalization there. But Dickens is himself as Christian. So this is a warning to the upper class readers that they need to beware the afterlife. They need to beware what they are doing and whether their greedy actions are going to have an implications on them when they go to either heaven or go to hell. So life is a big reminder there.
Really nice. And yeah, that goes pretty much with the message of any question of Christmas Carol, is that you need to, that the Victorian elite and society in general needs to step up and think about their own chains. And there's an idea, I suppose, that we all carry around chains. We need to think about how long ours are and whether there's anything we can do to shorten them.
And just to hark on one more thing, misused the word fettered. If you're fettered, you're chained up. So that means your freedom is restricted. So, in many ways, the social elite are restricting the freedom of the lower classes through their greedy actions. But as Marley is proving, they are going to be restricting their own freedom in the afterlife. So these chains, these actions, which are, lacking in charity, are going to hold everybody back. They're going to hold all of society back, rich or poor.
Really nice contextual point. So this links to the end of the play, and I think novella, sorry. I think it's really key in this one to talk about Scrooge's transformation, or you could call it his redemption, and you must talk about Scrooge at the beginning versus Scrooge at the end. The Ghost of Christmas Past says he's there for Scrooge's reclamation, which I think is a really nice word. Reclamation, I think, means he is to reclaim a part of himself that he's lost, that pearl or that inner child, that schoolboy inside him who had so much potential, like lots of the people he would be criticising. They were once innocent children as well, with their whole lives ahead of them to do good, and they can still reclaim that part. And indeed, Scrooge is now, there's 3 similes: light as a feather, he's happy as an angel, and as merry as a schoolboy. So obviously the chains, Marley's chains, contrast directly with him being as light as a feather. His chains have gone now. He's dropped that burden he's been carrying for so long. He's been able to put down, and it's been taken away from him because of his reclamation, because of his redemption.
I'd also be looking at what I tell my class doing, all my students listening will know this, is to sort of try and say more than one thing about a keyword. So the word light could be what Miss just said. Equally, the word light could refer to like light and dark. So it's as if Scrooge is also now able to see the light. He's able to see the errors of his way. So it's an extra little meaning there.
The other simile, sir? Anything else we could add?
So I'm as happy as an angel. Angels obviously resonate hugely with Christianity. So it's now Scrooge has recognised the Christian obligation he has to do good as an upper class member of society. He has the wealth and he has the ability to be charitable, and he's now recognising that. Dickens very often in this novella looks at upper class people who are supposedly Christian and supposedly virtuous, but who are actually acting in ways which are very, very unchristian. And the Ghost of Christmas Present particularly calls to account social elite people who act in this way.
Who are covetous old sinners.
Yeah, exactly. A covetous old sinner. I think the Ghost of Christmas Present shows all the wealthy people going to church on Christmas Day
Oh,
and
yeah.
all the poor going to the bakehouses to cook their Christmas dinner. And Scrooge says to many people do this, and the Ghost of Christmas Present says all good people do, implying that everyone who's gone to church, who has the wealth and the free time to do so, are not actually good.
So he's being sarky.
Very sarky.
Mm.
But now Scrooge has become a genuine angel in doing this.
And Merry, schoolboy.
So Scrooge has learnt a lesson over the course of this novella. And where do we go to learn lessons? Well, perhaps not you guys at Preston, but we should be learning lessons at school. So Scrooge is showing not only a willingness to learn, he is a merry schoolboy who is learning the lessons the ghosts want to teach him willingly, and that gives Scrooge's readership the model that they themselves can be. Dickens wants us all to be merry schoolboys, particularly the Victorian social elite, to learn the lessons that he's trying to teach them through this novella.
So Christmas Carol's like a mini crash course sort of lesson in morality. Right, I think a nice one then to lead on from that is this one from Little Fan, because this takes place in the schoolroom as well. This happens when Little Fan, which is Scrooge's sister, who's Fred's mum, she's since passed away as an adult. She comes to get the young Scrooge and bring him home for Christmas. We don't learn a lot about Scrooge's childhood, but we get the sense that he's somewhat rejected and neglected. And he's been bundled away to a boarding school. And she says to Scrooge when she comes to collect him, "Father is much kinder now." And I think so. You've got some comments on this one. So I don't think this is one that a lot of students would write about, but actually you can link it to context as a whole.
So this is one of my favourite quotes. Father is so much kinder than he used to be. First of all, it foreshadows Scrooge's change. So, like Miss said, we want to talk about Scrooge's trajectory from, the covetous old sinner to to the second father to Tiny Tim that he becomes, and this maps it out. The key word which I would always draw my students' attention to here is father, this noun father. So this is repeated lots of times throughout the play. When the Ghost of Christmas Present introduces ignorance and want, he says they cling to me, appealing from their fathers.
Yeah.
At the end, as I mentioned a second ago, almost the last line is to Tiny Tim, who did not die, Scrooge became a second father. And Dickens is stressing this word again and again and again because what he wants is for the rich in society, the social elite, to become parental figures almost to the poor. He wants them to take social responsibility and use the power that they have, that their wealth brings them, to nurture, to parent, to love the rest of society, to love the what's Fred's lovely phrase, to see the poor as the fellow passengers to the grave.
That is nice.
So
basically ignorance and want then are the kids that haven't been parented by society. Then they're neglected children whose parents have left them to rot and haven't given them an education. And they're unloved.
They have to appeal to the Ghost of Christmas Present to escape that. Dickens was a big family man. He came from a big family himself. I want to say one of 10.
I think you're right.
And then I equally want to say he went on to have 10 children.
I think he had a lot. He was from a lot. Let's leave it
so
at that.
Dickens loves the idea of family, and family is a really important theme in the book. We see this through the Cratchits, and the simple end of the day line when we come to talk about family is that Dickens wants society to act as a family.
That's really nice. Right, let's move on then. This is one again. So we've done that. Light as a feather. Yes. Now, this one I don't think a lot of students would necessarily talk about. Now, this is Scrooge about Fezziwig. So Fezziwig, Scrooge's old boss, and he throws a party for his employees at Christmas time. And Scrooge used to work there as an apprentice. This is before things went so horribly wrong for Scrooge. And the old Scrooge, looking back, sees how much everybody's enjoying themselves. And he says the happiness he gives is quite as great, sorry, my writing's terrible, as if it cost a fortune. So I think this suggests that Scrooge sees that happiness is not equated or synonymous with money. Throughout the definition of madness is doing something again and again and having the same result. Scrooge has obviously pursued wealth, the golden idol, his entire life, and it hasn't made him happy, yet he continues to do so. So anything you would want to say about this one?
I think this marks the first time in the novella where Scrooge suddenly starts to get it. He suddenly starts to realise what the ghosts are trying to teach him and why this is important. So all of his life up to this point, he has equated money with happiness. And because of that, he has been very, very unhappy. He's had a very lonely, miserable, unhappy life. And then suddenly this unlocks it for him. And I feel this is so important because if he didn't have this realization at this point, then I don't think he'd have been able to open his mind to the rest of the lessons that the subsequent ghosts come along to teach him. But he's not totally there because he's still using this keyword cost. So he's realizing that happiness is the important thing, but he still can't get away from talking about it without using monetary terms. But it's the stepping stone, it's the starting point.
Lovely. And our last one then, and again, I think this is one lots of students talk about, but they might not necessarily say anything meaningful about it, or they might sort of skim over it on a surface level. Belle, Scrooge's ex-girlfriend, when she dumps him, she says, "Another idol has replaced me, a golden one." So an idol is somebody you worship. And she says, "I've been replaced by a golden one." And what she means, golden is a metaphor for money. So instead of pursuing Belle, Scrooge is now pursuing money. His world has been enveloped by a lust for gain. I think, is it gain engrosses you or something?
Gain engrosses you, yes.
Yeah. And I think so. You had a nice comment about family for this one.
Yes. So I think what Belle represents in the novella is family, because this is what Scrooge could have had. He could have had the wonderful family life that Belle represents, and which the ghost of Christmas Past then very cruelly shows him straight after this scene. And instead of choosing Belle, he chooses wealth, he chooses money. So he has gone from worship. Dickens is saying that the idol he should be worshipping here is family, and instead he's worshipped money. And, it needs the realization he has with Fezziwig that we looked at in the previous quote for him to start realizing why this is wrong. The other thing I'd say about this is I'd zoom in on the idea of a golden idol. So a golden idol is a biblical reference.
Ah, yes, it's a good contextual point.
So again, if we want to talk about some context here, Moses came down from, I think it's Mount Sinai, with the 10 Commandments written on stone slabs. And whilst he was away going up the mountain to get those, his followers ceased to worship God and started worshipping a golden calf, a golden idol. And when Moses came back down, he was so angry, he smashed the stone tablets with the 10 Commandments in and had to stomp back up the mountain to get new ones. But of course, one of the 10 Commandments, one of the 7 deadly sins, even, maybe I'm equating 7 deadly sins with 10 Commandments here, is the sin of greed. And I think a golden idol here very much shows that Scrooge has fallen victim to this sin of greed.
Okay, so that is our 5 on Christmas Carol, our 5 on Romeo and Juliet. Good luck, guys, on Monday the 11th. We're sure you do. We're sure you'll do really, really, really well. Any last-minute tips from you, sir, for this exam?
Start with the question you feel most confident on. Stick equal amount of times to each. Don't spend, 99% of the exam writing about one and then rush very quickly on the other. But most importantly, learn some of these quotes before you go in.
And don't answer on Macbeth.
No.
Don't do Macbeth every year. You did Macbeth in year 9. Ignore Macbeth. You might see, we did that in drama. We did that in English in year 7. Just don't do it. It never works. We've had it a lot and that just doesn't work. You are Romeo and Juliet people, and you are, that's it, a Christmas Carol people. Okay?
Right, good luck.
Good luck.
Good luck, year 11.